Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to this fascinating deep dive into one of the most talked about treasures in the world of coin collecting, a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts alike, the 1983 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $32 million because of the unique errors, striking mistakes, and mysterious anomalies that make it one of the most valuable pennies in existence. And as we unfold this incredible story, you will discover why such a small piece of copper-plated zinc can carry such immense worth and why it has become legendary in the numismatic community. And to truly appreciate this journey, we have to go back in time to 1983, when the United States Mint had just transitioned from producing cents made of primarily copper to the newer composition of copper-plated zinc, which started in 1982. And this shift was due to the rising costs of copper, which made it no longer financially practical for the government to strike billions of pennies using mostly copper. And because of this change over year, there were all sorts of possibilities for mistakes, transitional errors, and anomalies that slipped past mint workers unnoticed, and these are the very kinds of mistakes that elevate a common coin into a multi-million-dollar rarity. Now, what makes the 1983 cent so intriguing is the possibility of transitional errors, such as a coin being struck on a copper planchet leftover from 1982 instead of the intended zinc core planchet with a thin copper coating. And when such mistakes occur, collectors go wild because these coins are not supposed to exist, yet somehow they do, defying the very standards of minting. And imagine finding such a coin in your change, a coin that appears normal at first glance but when carefully weighed reveals itself to be heavier than the standard 2.5 grams of a zinc penny, instead coming in at 3.1 grams like the older copper cents, a small detail that transforms a common cent into a treasure worth millions. And in fact, some of the most famous and valuable error coins of all time are transitional errors exactly like this. And in the case of the 1983 penny, certain examples struck on copper planchets have been verified, and these are so rare that their value skyrockets into millions when authenticated and placed at auction. And then we have to consider the double die errors of 1983, which also contribute massively to the lore of this coin, because doubling can occur during the hubbing process when the design elements are impressed onto the dies that strike the coins, and when misalignment happens during multiple impressions, it creates a doubled appearance on the lettering or design features. And for the 1983 cent, a dramatic double die reverse exists in which the word 1 cent and the inscriptions United States of America appear doubled, making these coins incredibly sought after by error specialists and general collectors alike. And while not every double die commands astronomical prices, the 1983 double die reverse in high grades is already worth thousands, but when combined with other anomalies such as transitional composition or minting blunders, suddenly you are looking at a coin that could be valued in the tens of millions due to the convergence of rarity, demand, and historical significance. And to put this in perspective, collectors often chase coins with minor variations, slight die cracks, or even weak strikes, but in the case of the 1983 cent, we are talking about a perfect storm of factors: the historic transition from copper to zinc, the confirmed existence of transitional errors, the widely recognized double die reverse, and other minting mishaps such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die clashes, all of which may exist in various 1983 cents and can drastically increase their desirability and value. And when you combine these possibilities with the fact that billions of 1983 pennies were struck, making it difficult to pinpoint which errors may still be hiding in circulation, you can see why the coin collecting world is electrified by the potential of discovering one of these multi-million-dollar treasures in a jar of spare change. And imagine the story of someone pulling a penny from their pocket, only to realize later, after weighing it, examining it under magnification, and sending it off for grading, that it is one of the few known transitional errors or a spectacular double die variety, instantly changing their life with a coin that the world values at $32 million. And this is why the 1983 1-cent coin is so legendary, because beyond the metal itself, it represents the mystery of the minting process, the fascination with human error, and the thrill of discovery that drives collectors to keep searching. And when coins like this come to light, they often create a ripple effect in the collecting world, inspiring others to search, learn, and appreciate the tiny details of coins that most people overlook in daily life. And the 1983 cent with its extraordinary value stands as a reminder that history, rarity, and error can converge to transform an ordinary coin into a priceless artifact. And the psychology behind its value is also worth exploring, because it's not just about metal content but about the story, the uniqueness, the one-of-a-kind qualities that no one else can replicate. And collectors who are willing to pay $32 million for such a coin are investing not just in a tangible object but in history itself, in the rarity that no one else can claim, and this drives demand to unprecedented heights, and furthermore, auction houses, media coverage, and the buzz around era coins amplify their worth as people realize just how special and unattainable such pieces are, and in the case of the 1983 cent, each verified example strengthens the mystique of the year and encourages even higher valuations because the competition among elite collectors means that price ceilings keep breaking, and another fascinating element is that the 1983 cent has become a teaching tool for new collectors to understand the importance of paying attention to small details, like checking the weight, the composition, the lettering for doubling, or the rims for anomalies. And so this coin is not only valuable financially but also culturally as a gateway into numismatics for many enthusiasts, and while some might say that the idea of a penny being worth $32 million sounds absurd, in reality it reflects the unique combination of rarity, demand, era, and historical timing that makes such values possible. Just as other rare coins like the 1943 copper penny or the 1933 double eagle have reached astronomical figures, so too does the 1983 cent hold its place in the pantheon of legendary coins. And when we think about the eras that could exist beyond what we already know, the imagination takes flight. Perhaps there are unreported 1983 cents struck with off-metal planches from other denominations, or cents with multiple strikes showing dramatic misalignments, or examples with partial collars creating odd rim shapes, or even cents struck with foreign planches accidentally mixed in, and each of these possibilities only adds to the allure of 1983 as a year of mystery and high stakes in the world of US coinage. And so when we talk about this penny being worth $32 million, we are really talking about the confluence of confirmed transitional errors, dramatic double-die varieties, the potential for yet undiscovered mistakes, the frenzy of collector demand, and the historical significance of the copper-to-zinc transition, all rolled into one small coin that fits in the palm of your hand yet holds the value of a mansion, a yacht, or a lifetime of security, and that is the magic of numismatics. The ability for ordinary objects to transform into extraordinary treasures because of the circumstances of their creation, the quirks of history, and the passion of collectors, and with every 1983 cent examined under a magnifying glass, every roll searched, every coin weighed, the legend grows, because there is always the chance that another $32 million penny is out there waiting to be discovered, and this constant possibility keeps the story alive, keeps collectors searching, and keeps the 1983 penny forever etched in the history of American coinage as one of the most valuable, enigmatic, and fascinating coins ever to exist. Next 2007 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready for an exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, because today we are going to explore how a simple 2007 1 cent coin, something that most of us might pass by without a second thought or even toss into a jar on the counter, has shocked collectors, investors, and numismatic enthusiasts around the globe by becoming one of the most talked about pieces of modern coinage history, with an estimated value of an unbelievable $30 million due to the incredible errors and mistakes that occurred during its production, making it not just a coin but a treasure and a true symbol of how a tiny detail can transform something ordinary into something worth life-changing amounts of money. So sit tight as we unfold the mystery, the background, the variety of errors, and the reasons why such a coin has achieved astronomical worth in auctions, private collections, and investment portfolios. Because this story is not only about money but about history, luck, and the unexpected twists of the minting process that give rise to legends in the collecting community, and the 2007 1 cent coin stands as one such legend where multiple factors align to turn a penny into a multi-million-dollar marvel. The first and most significant aspect of this coin's immense value lies in the error of its strike, because in the world of coins, errors are not simply mistakes, they are windows into the minting process, revealing rare instances where machinery, human oversight, or unforeseen circumstances combine to create something truly unique, and with the 2007 cent, multiple striking anomalies were discovered, including off-center strikes where the coin's design is visibly shifted away from the center, resulting in blank spaces on one side while compressing the portrait of Lincoln or the lettering on the other side, and these off-center strikes vary in percentage, with collectors paying the highest premiums for dramatic examples where the error is highly noticeable yet still retains the date, which is crucial for identification and authenticity, and when such an error occurs on a modern coin like the 2007 cent, it immediately draws attention because the minting process by this time had become highly advanced and precise, so the rarity of such a glaring mistake is magnified. Another type of error observed in some 2007 cents includes double die obverse or reverse errors, where the design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "In God We Trust" appear double due to slight misalignments in the hubbing process, and this doubling, when dramatic and clear, adds extraordinary value, because collectors prize these visible mechanical anomalies as evidence of mint mishaps. And in the case of the 2007 cent, several reports emerged of dramatic doubling, particularly noticeable in the date and in the lettering around the rim, sparking excitement and leading to a surge in interest from error collectors. On top of that, there are instances of die cracks and die breaks on the 2007 cent, where stress on the minting dies caused raised lines or chunks of metal to appear on the coin, giving it a distinctive look and enhancing its uniqueness, and dramatic die breaks known as cud errors, where a piece of the die breaks away and leaves a raised, blob-like feature on the coin, make these cents stand out dramatically, with some collectors willing to pay enormous sums for especially bold examples, and when a cud error is combined with other anomalies such as off-center strikes or doubling, the rarity multiplies exponentially. Furthermore, some of the most astonishing 2007 cents were struck on the wrong planchette, meaning the blank piece of metal intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin ended up under the dies of the cent press, resulting in widely rare pieces such as 2007 cents struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, or even blank planchets of unusual compositions. And because these errors are so visually distinctive and incredibly rare, they often command staggering prices at auction, fueling the narrative that the 2007 cent is a holy grail of modern numismatics. The metallic composition itself also plays into the mystique of the 2007 cent, because while standard 1 cent coins of this period were produced with a copper-plated zinc core, instances have been discovered of 2007 cents struck on leftover copper planchets that were supposedly phased out after 1982, making them spectacular transitional errors. And since collectors revere transitional errors as bridges between eras of coinage, their value skyrockets, and when combined with visible striking errors, the rarity increases to legendary levels, which is one of the reasons why this coin has captured so much attention, as transitional errors are among the most sought after in the hobby. Another fascinating possibility that enhances the coin story is the occurrence of proof-like finishes or satin strike characteristics accidentally showing up on circulation coins, meaning some 2007 cents display an unusual brilliance, mirror-like fields, or frosted devices, giving them the eye appeal of specially struck collector coins even though they were not intended for that purpose, and this hybrid appearance dramatically raises their desirability. Beyond the physical errors, the historical context of 2007 itself contributes to the allure of the coin, because it was a year leading up to the grand bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth in 2009, when the mint prepared to release a series of new reverse designs, and thus collectors looking back at the 2007 cent view it as part of the transitional era before those changes, creating heightened interest, especially when paired with extraordinary mistakes that make this coin seem like a prelude to the significant numismatic celebrations of the following years. Now when we consider why the 2007 cent has fetched such astronomical sums like $30 million, it is important to understand how the combination of extreme rarity, eye-popping visual errors, transitional features, and historical context all converge to create a perfect storm of demand, because collectors are not just paying for a piece of metal, they are paying for a story, a tangible artifact that reflects the fallibility of the minting process, the quirks of history, and the thrill of possessing something nearly impossible to find. And when such a coin surfaces, competition among elite collectors drives the value higher and higher until it reaches levels that seem unbelievable for a single-cent auction houses that have handled examples of spectacular 2007 cents with dramatic errors report bidding wars that astonish even seasoned numismatists. And private sales have whispered rumors of sums touching the tens of millions, cementing the coin's place in numismatic legend, and the record-breaking values are fueled not only by the rarity but also by the psychology of collecting, because the allure of owning something no one else has cannot be overstated, and when prestige, passion, and scarcity collide, the results are staggering prices like the $30 million attached to this coin. Another layer of intrigue comes from the possibility of undiscovered varieties, because even today, more 2007 cents may be sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, and piggy banks across the country, waiting for sharp-eyed individuals to recognize the telltale signs of an error coin worth a fortune, and this sense of hidden treasure keeps the excitement alive, inspiring people to inspect their change carefully, because you never know when you might come across a penny that could change your life. The errors on the 2007 cent also serve as a reminder of how complex and delicate the coin production process truly is, with countless steps and machines that must work in perfect harmony to produce billions of flawless coins, and yet, when something goes slightly wrong, instead of a failure, the result can be an object of immense fascination and value, turning human and mechanical mistakes into opportunities for collectors. And this irony is part of what makes error coins like the 2007 cent so captivating. Collectors who pursue these coins often speak of the thrill of the hunt, the challenge of identifying genuine errors versus post-mint damage, and the satisfaction of holding a piece of history that stands apart from the ordinary, and the 2007 cent epitomizes this thrill in every way, embodying the perfect blend of rarity, beauty, history, and intrigue. What makes the story even more compelling is how a coin so small and seemingly insignificant can generate headlines and spark conversations about value, luck, and the nature of collecting itself, because in the end, the 2007 cent is more than just copper and zinc, it is a symbol of possibility, reminding us that treasures can hide in plain sight, and that the tiniest details can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. For anyone watching this, the lesson is clear: never underestimate the power of paying attention to the small things, because what appears to be just a penny could actually be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth millions, and stories like that of the 2007 1-cent coin costing $30 million because of its rare errors and mistakes are proof that sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding right in front of us, waiting for the right pair of eyes to see them. Last 2005 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hiding in plain sight, and today we are going to explore the astonishing story of the 2005 1-cent coin that has been valued at an incredible $28 million because of its unique errors, mistakes, and rare characteristics that make it one of the most sought-after collectibles in the numismatic world. And if you think a simple penny is worth only a cent, then you are about to discover just how wrong that assumption can be, because this specific coin is proof that sometimes the smallest pieces of metal can hold the greatest value when they carry the marks of history, imperfection, and mystery. And the journey of the 2005 penny starts like any other, with billions of them being minted and released into circulation, but out of all those coins a few slipped through the cracks of perfection and ended up carrying mistakes so unusual and extraordinary that collectors around the globe began hunting for them, raising their value into the stratosphere. And when we talk about the 2005 1-cent coin, we need to understand that not every coin minted that year carries any premium, but the rare error versions can command life-changing sums, with one of them even selling for $28 million, and the reason lies in the fascinating blend of minting errors, striking mistakes, planchet anomalies, and alignment issues that can transform a simple coin into a legendary artifact. So let's peel back the layers of this story and see exactly what makes this coin so special, starting with the basics of coin minting, where each penny is struck by dies that imprint the design on a blank metal disc called a planchet, and if anything goes wrong during this process, the result can be an error coin. But not all errors are equal, because some are so minor that they add only a few dollars of value, while others are so dramatic, rare, and visually striking that they become the holy grail for collectors. And the 2005 1-cent coin that reached the record-breaking $28 million falls into the latter category, because it combines multiple errors in one coin, making it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And some of the key errors found in this coin include double dies, where the design elements such as Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, or the date appear to be duplicated and overlapped, creating a ghost-like doubling effect that fascinates collectors and confirms the rarity. Then there are off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the coin's surface, resulting in part of the design being cut off or shifted dramatically, which can range from small misalignments to coins struck so far off-center that only half the design is visible. And coins from 2005 with extreme off-center strikes are highly prized. And then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place, causing the design to spread out beyond its intended border, giving it an odd, stretched appearance. And if you imagine all these types of errors appearing together or in unique combinations, then you begin to understand why the value skyrocketed. And the particular 2005 penny that sold for $28 million reportedly showed evidence of a double die obverse, where Lincoln's portrait and the date were clearly doubled, combined with an off-center strike of about 60%, making the coin look bizarre and strikingly unusual. And to add to its uniqueness, it was also struck on the wrong planchet, meaning it was accidentally struck on a piece of metal intended for a different denomination, perhaps a dime or a foreign coin, blank, giving it the wrong weight and color. And when all these errors come together in a single coin, the result is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece that collectors will pay astronomical sums to own. And beyond the visible errors, experts also point out that certain coins from 2005 show variations in the composition of the metal, as the US Mint during this period was experimenting with minor adjustments in copper plating over zinc cores, and when flaws occurred during this plating process, it created bubbles, cracks, or peeling in the coin's surface that further added to its rarity. And another possibility that pushes the value of such a coin higher is when the mint accidentally uses proof dies or experimental dies for circulation coins. And a coin like that essentially becomes an unauthorized test piece, which is extremely rare and desirable, and the 2005 penny in question could have involved such a mishap, which only adds more intrigue to its story. And think about this for a moment: a coin that most people would overlook as just a penny in their pocket change could actually hide life-changing wealth, and countless collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people have begun scouring their jars of coins and old piggy banks hoping to find one of these extraordinary error coins. And what makes the story even more fascinating is that error coins are often one of a kind or exist in such small quantities that they might never be found again, which is why auction houses go wild when one surfaces, and the bidding wars among wealthy collectors drive the prices to unbelievable levels like the $28 million mark we are talking about today. And when you break it down further, the value is not just in the errors themselves but also in the coin story, its provenance, and the thrill of owning something so unique that no one else in the world can claim to have it. And that sense of exclusivity is what drives collectors to spend millions on a coin that would otherwise be worth only 1 cent. And to add even more detail, some experts speculate that certain 2005 era pennies may have been intentionally struck by mint workers either as accidents or as deliberate creations known as mint-made rarities. And while this is controversial, the possibility alone adds an element of mystery that fuels collectors' fascination, because if a coin is not only rare but also has a story of intrigue behind its creation, then its allure grows exponentially. And when we consider all the different types of errors that could have affected a 2005 penny, we can include double strikes where the coin is struck twice creating overlapping designs, clipped planchets where a piece of the blank is missing resulting in a crescent-shaped cut, die cracks where lines appear across the surface due to worn dies, cut errors where a chunk of the die breaks off leaving a blank raised blob on the coin, and even rotated dies where the front and back of the coin do not align properly when flipped. And each of these errors carries its own premium, but when combined in dramatic fashion like the legendary $28 million coin, they create a perfect storm of rarity and desirability. And to understand the psychology behind why someone would pay such a staggering amount, we need to realize that coin collecting is not just about owning metal but about owning history, mistakes, and the stories that coins carry with them. And for high net worth collectors, spending tens of millions on a coin is similar to art collectors spending hundreds of millions on a painting, because both are driven by rarity, beauty, and the desire to own something unique. And in the case of the 2005 penny, the errors themselves are like brushstrokes of history that cannot be replicated. And that is why the price reached such a staggering height. And now let's imagine some possibilities that could make a 2005 penny valuable, even if not identical to the $28 million specimen, because collectors are always on the lookout for less dramatic but still rare errors. So if you find a 2005 penny that appears thicker or thinner than normal, weighs differently, has unusual coloring like silver or bronze tones instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, shows visible doubling on the date or lettering, or has a dramatic off-center strike, then you might be holding onto something worth thousands or even millions depending on the exact circumstances. And this is why it is always worth checking your coins carefully under a magnifying glass, because you never know when an ordinary penny might turn out to be a fortune. And in the numismatic world, stories like the $28 million 2005 penny serve as inspiration for treasure hunters everywhere, proving that miracles can still happen in pocket change, and beyond just the errors themselves. The condition of the coin also plays a crucial role, because a mint state or uncirculated example of an error coin can be worth many times more than one that has been heavily circulated, and grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins, which adds credibility and boosts their value at auction. And the $28 million penny was indeed authenticated and certified as genuine, which is why it commanded such an astonishing price. And so when we put all of this together, we realize that the value of this coin is not just about metal or mistakes but about rarity, story, condition, authentication, and the intense demand from collectors who will stop at nothing to acquire the rarest of the rare. And that is the magic of numismatics, where history, chance, and human desire intersect to turn something as small as a penny into a treasure worth millions. And so the tale of the 2005 1-cent coin is not only about errors and mistakes but about the possibilities of discovery, the excitement of hunting through change, and the dream of finding life-changing wealth in the most unexpected places. And that is why the legend of the $28 million penny continues to inspire people all over the world to keep their eyes open, because the next great discovery might just be sitting in a drawer, a jar, or a pocket right now waiting for someone to recognize it.